Yo, what's going on? So I'm still on the road, like I said, headed to Atlanta right now. Also, my objective with these next 4 days is to make multiple videos, make them as impactful as I can, make them very practical for people who are working towards improving their health. And so in order for me to do that, I need to work on something that I struggle with a whole lot, and that is staying on topic. If you notice, I'm sure you have, I've seen you comment, but I'll talk about one aspect of a certain condition, and I'll go through the whole entire condition, talk about many aspects of it, and that's not very helpful for a lot of people. So I'm going to be working on that, and I want to utilize these next 4 days to make these videos condensed. I want to try to make them straight to the point, but also I don't want to make it so condensed and straight to the point to where it becomes like a processed information, like processed food, refined foods. So specifically, what's going on, Ruby? Specifically in this video, I want to talk about the economics of type 2 diabetes, supply and demand. I can give it to you, but what you're going to do with it. So if you think about it, economics can really be applied to anatomy and physiology. Really, if you really think about it, anatomy and physiology, the human body, most things are actually built off and based on the workings of the human body, anatomy and physiology. Whether we're talking about cell phone, cars, computers, it's a whole different topic. But let's specifically look at the correlation between economics, the basic level of economics, and supply and demand. When we're talking about an economy, and you have the supply, that supply can be, whether it's food, a certain type of material, cotton, and you're looking at the demand. The demand comes from the actual people who want these items. The people could want those items at different times of the year. That demand can go up or demand can go down. And in economics, you quickly learn to adapt to that demand. Why? Because people who are supplying it are usually businesses, and businesses don't want to waste money. They quickly feel that pain in their pockets and in their bank account. And so it's intelligent to appropriate the supply with the demand. Whenever you have too much supply, the value of that supply goes down, but also you have a surplus, and you now have to figure out what to do with the surplus, and that can hurt you in the short run and in the long run. Now let's see how that can correlate with the body, specifically with type 2 diabetes. So when you eat, anytime you eat, your body is going to secrete a hormone called insulin. One of insulin's many jobs is to store nutrients. Now let's specifically talk about carbohydrates. Mind you, I'm not a fan of talking about carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, because we don't eat carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. We eat food. We eat plants. We eat vegetables. We eat kale. We eat spinach. We eat actual food. I'm getting off track. But anyways, let's specifically talk about the carbohydrates. So when your body is breaking down those carbohydrates, it's going to convert it into glucose. Glucose is also what you know as blood sugar. Now, the hormone insulin is going to be doing one or three things. Now, most people talk about one or two things, but it's going to be doing one or three things. It's going to either take that glucose and take it to the cells to be utilized for energy in that moment. All right, that's one. Or it's going to now take that glucose and store it in your liver or your other cells as glycogen. Glycogen is just the storage form of glucose. Or your insulin is going to take that glucose or glycogen and convert it to fat. Now, for part two, for the second thing that insulin can do with your glucose as far as glycogen, the reason why your body would turn glucose into glycogen and put it in those cells is because once again, your cells are using the glucose as fuel, as energy. But in the moments when you run out of that glucose, your body needs a very quick way of readily receiving glucose. And so it's very easy. It is a very easy process for the body to convert glycogen back to glucose and glucose back to glycogen. And so it's a very easy process for your body to do. However, in the moments when those glycogen stores are filled and the cells are filled with glucose as well, insulin is now going to convert that glycogen or that glucose to fat. Now, the reason why your body would do this is because you have a limited supply. You have a limited room for glucose and glycogen. But you do have almost an unlimited supply of, or I'm sorry, not supply, but an unlimited capacity for fat. Your body can pretty much store fat all day long if that's what you're telling it to do. And that's another thing. We have to understand that we're actually signaling the body to do many of these things, whether we know it or not. And so, in the cases when we have an oversupply of glucose and we have an oversupply of glycogen because your insulin has stored that glucose as much as it could, and it turned around and converted the glucose into glycogen as much as it could, and is now at full capacity of glycogen. The most intelligent thing to do would be now to convert that glycogen to fat so that it can ship that fat out to the fat tissues, the adipose tissues, because you can feel those adipose tissues pretty much all day long. And that's a lot of people do it. You can see, you can, if you watch TV, you'll see cases of people who are like 600 pounds. The body has a incredible amount of space to store fat. So your body's constantly making intelligent moves. We don't understand it or see it as intelligent moves because we have it deciphered by medical industry or healthcare system that has profit as its overall end goal that was created by the actual pharmaceutical company. But that's a whole different topic. See, there I go. But nonetheless, we need to understand that your body's not doing these things just at random. It's doing it based on what we are actually signaling it to do. We're telling it to do these things. How are we telling these to do these? How are we telling the body to do these things? Via ignoring the demand. We have hunger pangs, P.A.N.G. Those hunger pangs are initiated by a hormonal process. Hormones are secreted in the body, mainly ghrelin. When you look at the word ghrelin, it sounds like grr, grr. It starts like grr, grr. That also goes along with the growl. So people get hungry, their stomach starts growling. That's a hormonal process called ghrelin. Ghrelin is letting you know, based on all of the feedback we have just received from your body and your cells and the whole economy of your body, it's time for a meal. It's time to eat. And so since it's time to eat, we have gone through a chain process. We've gone through multiple steps. We looked at certain things and we're low on these things. And now we are telling you, let's eat. That's a hormonal process. This is very different from eating every 2 to 3 hours because your doctor told you, or because your nutritionist told you, or because an article told you. This is very different from eating 6 small meals a day just because society is telling you to do this. So, who do you want to listen to? Your nutritionist, who was given information by the Dietetic Association, who was given information by the Diabetes Association and the pharmacy, or do you want to listen to your actual body, who knows what's going on moment by moment by moment? And that's what hormones are. Hormones are keeping their finger on the pulse of the economy of your body moment by moment. They know every single little thing. They know when you have an infection in process. They know when you're getting cold. They know when you're getting sad. They know when your metabolic rate needs to increase. They know everything. So by ignoring this process, you are ignoring the basic economics of your body, the supply and demand. Because if your body is not asking for food via having hunger pangs or actually feeling hungry, and you are giving it some food, meaning that you are actually supplying when there is no demand, what do you now think is going to happen with that supply? Well, in economics, when you have an oversupply, when you have a high supply, when there's no demand, we call that a surplus. And so now you have a situation where you have a surplus in the body of glucose. That glucose is going to get converted into fat. Now, we talked about the normal process of the fat being placed into the actual fat cells. But here's the part that most people are missing, and it's important for you to know. Now, it's one thing to store it into the fat cells. That's where it belongs. If you're going to convert fat, if you're going to convert glycogen or glucose into fat, it needs to go into the fat cells. That is the healthier thing to do. That is the more intelligent thing for your body to do. But when your body is constantly being bombarded with supply that it never demanded, and it's being constantly bombarded with it, it needs to now store that fat wherever it can. And unfortunately, this means that it's going to store it in your organs. The first organ it's going to start to store it in is going to be your liver. This is why you can see fatty liver increasing, or you can see the actual liver enzymes increasing on the blood work of someone who is not even diabetic yet. They may be pre-diabetic, but you can see that those liver enzymes increasing in their blood work 5 years before they become diabetic. They call this the long silent scream from the liver, because when you're constantly eating frequently over and over and over throughout the day, every single day, you don't even need that fuel. Your body doesn't have that demand, and you're getting this surplus of supplies. Your body has to do what it can do. If you ever seen the episode of I Love Lucy and I don't know the other lady's name, Maxine, they're on that factory line and they're trying to like package up these cupcakes or whatever like that, and then it starts coming too fast and they're trying to like deal with it, but it gets to a point where they can't deal with it and now they're just throwing stuff all over the place. Well, this is kind of what's happening in your body. Now, people are very familiar with fatty liver, right? Like you've heard fatty liver before. But there's another organ that is also affected by this fat that most people have never even heard of. Most doctors are not even aware of, they're not talking about. And this is why the story of diabetes being unreversible or irreversible is able to live. But the other organ that is greatly affected by the fat is called your pancreas. Therefore, when you are constantly eating frequently and you don't have the actual demand for it, and you're having that surplus of fat and it needs to be stored, and it's coming at a very frequently, and you're storing it in your liver, leading to fatty liver, the next area that it's going to store it is in the pancreas. So when they're talking about insulin resistance, before you can even get to insulin resistance, the prerequisite is some level of fatty liver. That whole beta cell burnout thing that they talk about, and that's the reason why type 2 diabetes is not reversible. The reason why that's not true. The beta cells did not burn out. What you have is the beta cells being congested. Congested with what? What are they congested with? Fat. So the fatty pancreas is decreasing the amount of insulin that would normally be secreted by your body. And so you have a situation where you now have fatty pancreas and fatty liver. And so you now have a situation where the blood sugar is actually staying in the actual bloodstream. And so when you take your finger prick or your blood work or anything like that, you see it being elevated. Now, I'm going to stop right here as far as explaining the supply and demand of your body, the economics of diabetes type 2. Please make sure you share this video. I'm going to make several more videos. We're going to try to go through and just break down some basic concepts that you all can utilize for yourself or for your family member or whoever, especially with Thanksgiving being right around the corner. Yeah, I'm not even going to that. But especially with Thanksgiving being right around the corner. A lot of us are going to be seeing our families, and you know, I remember when Thanksgiving turned into something for myself where it was just I was looking forward to seeing my family, but I was not looking forward to seeing the new conditions that they were suffering from. That was something very hard to continue to see. But I'll make videos on, you know, what exactly insulin resistance is. I already made a video on the 5 keys, the 5 steps on how to reverse type 2 diabetes. I'll just make videos. I got plenty of stuff in my head. My biggest issue is to make sure I stay on task. So if your body's not demanding a supply and you're supplying it, what you gonna do with it? Like that song says, I can give it to you, but what you gonna do with it? Your body's gonna store it as fat. And if you give it to it fast enough, it's gonna store it in the organs as fat as well. So you're gonna end up with fatty liver and fatty pancreas. And with that fatty pancreas, it's going to cause congestion in the secretion of the actual insulin hormone. And so when they check your blood work, they're going to tell you that you got pancreas burnout, but that's not true because we know that the pancreas cells are not burnout. They know. You got multiple studies that have proven that the pancreas cells have not burned out. You got multiple studies showing that insulin resistance is reversible. The pancreas cells can actually go right back to normally functioning. How? By fasting. By fasting. If you go look at a study called the Counterpoint study, I think it was done in like United Kingdom. This is a study this doctor showed within like 7 days of, they call it caloric restriction. It's fast. Within 7 days of having people fast, the actual fat in both the liver and the pancreas decreased. And that's the crazy thing about it. You know, a lot of people give up on fasting because they're not seeing the weight loss that they want to see, or they're too stuck on the actual cosmetic aspect. And I get it, you know, you like what you like, but at the same time, you need to understand that just because you may not see the change in the mirror, you know, what you see in the mirror should not be your main indicator. How you feel should be your main indicator. And one of the first things a lot of people feel is they feel clear. Why do you feel clear? Because the organ that's responsible for detoxification, which is your liver, is now functioning better, meaning that you're now able to actually detoxify at a higher rate. Why is it functioning better? Because when you are fasting and you're not taking in any food, yeah, you're going to get hungry, but guess what? You're not going to die. And so when you get hungry and you get over that feeling of hunger via just waiting it out, or maybe you can drink some tea, or you know, or just waiting it out. When that period is over, you notice that the feeling of hunger has gone away. Has anybody ever explained why that feeling of hunger goes away and how it comes in waves? Because what people start to notice is the more they fast, the feeling of hunger actually spreads out. And so, yes, hunger comes in waves. It's not something that comes and it just stays with you until you eat. No, it doesn't work like that. It comes in waves, it comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. The reason why it's coming and going is because your body is actually feeding itself. When that hunger goes away, it's because your body just fed itself. It sounds crazy, but your body just had a meal. Where did that meal come from? From the stored food that you have. From the stored food in our cells, from the stored food in our actual fat cells. That's what it's for. They're for storage. How do you think animals are able to hibernate and go to sleep for like weeks on end and be fine? Why do you think they eat so much before they go to sleep? Because they already know, yo, I'm gonna eat, it's gonna get stored as fat, but by the time I wake up for the spring, I'm gonna be on point. You know, I'm gonna be on point. My body's gonna have used all that fat, and it's the same thing with humans as well too. The only problem is with humans, with us, is that we're not giving our body the time to actually utilize that storage. And so the reason why that hunger comes and it goes, and you can continue to go days without eating, but I recommend starting off with 16 hours. But the reason why you're able to do that is because when that hunger pain goes away, it's because your body fed itself with what? The storage, the stored food that you already have. If any of us, we can just pull on our skin and that we feel the fat tissue. Well, that's reserves. It's reserved for the times when you don't have food. And so give your body time. And this is not starvation. Don't get it twisted. People get it twisted. They like to call, oh, you can't go 3 hours without eating, you're going to starve yourself. Listen. There's people in this world who are actually starving. Most people in America have no idea what it means to starve. To say that going 3 to 4 hours without eating is likened to starving is extremely disrespectful. It's extremely disrespectful, disingenuous, and it's pure ignorance, because you are not starving. Starvation is a forced condition. What I mean by forced is that you wish you actually had food when you're starving. People who are starving wish they can get their hands on food. They're looking for food. They want to eat food. And the moment they see food, they're going to eat it. However, when you're fasting is a voluntary state. You're doing this on your own will. You have food in your access if you want it. You have food available to you if you want to eat it. However, you are choosing not to eat. These are very different things. Don't let anybody hustle you into thinking that you're starving yourself and that this is detrimental to you. This whole eat 6 small meals a day and 2 to 3 hours between eating is a brand new phenomenon. Is extremely unhelpful, especially if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, or if you have any metabolic condition. Really, for anybody, unless you're actually trying to gain weight. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and I'll be making another video very soon. I'm on the road. I'm woke. I'm fasting right now. I'm fasting. When I'm fasting, I talk a lot. And usually I'm on the road and I'm just driving and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, why don't I just speak into the camera, speak to the audience? Ruby, Angela, Samara, what's going on? What's going on? Danita, what's going on? So, yeah, I appreciate y'all being here. Please share this video. Like I said, I'm going to make it my mission to continuously make videos throughout these 4 days. Y'all need a topic covered. My specialty is type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, obesity, and fasting. If you have questions about any of those things, and also kidney health, I'm getting into kidney health as well. So if you have a question about any of those things, please let me know. Ask your question. I can't really read too many comments because I'm driving, and but I'll come back and answer those questions when I can. And please share these videos. We need to spread this around the community, please. So yeah, let me see. You notice that when you're busy, you don't notice that yeah. I mean, just think about it. You know, if you're not, why are we eating if we're not hungry? Why are we eating if we're not hungry? And so when we're eating and we're not hungry, what we're responding to is appetite. We're responding to appetite, and it's based on stimulus. So you probably heard the experiment with Pavlov dog. This was a stimulus. This was a cue stimulus response experiment, and this is when the scientists pretty much ring a bell, give the dog treats. Ring the bell, give the dog treats. Now, every time he rang the bell and gave the dog a treat, before he gave the dog a treat, the dog was salivating. So the dog had a lot of drool coming from his mouth because the salivary glands were getting ready to actually digest the food that the dog was going to be taking in. And so he did this over and over and over. And then what he started doing was ringing the bell, but not giving the dog food. But the dog was still salivating. He kept doing this over and over and over. And what he found out is that he had trained the dog with the cue, with the stimulus, and regardless if he gave the dog that treat or not, he would still have the same response. And so what we have been trained as far as eating goes is that 8 o'clock comes in the morning, you wake up, eat. 8 o'clock comes, morning time comes, eat. 8 o'clock comes, morning time, eat. Noon comes, lunchtime, eat. Noon comes, lunchtime, eat. Commercial, pizza slice, gooey cheese, golden crust, eat. Smell, eat. So we're no longer even really listening to our actual bodies, our hormonal process as far as when we have true hunger. A lot of times we're just going based off of stimulus. Certain things are stimulating an appetite in us. Colors. There's certain colors that are actually stimulating appetite in us. Specifically, the colors orange and red. So you think about your McDonald's, you think about your Wendy's, you think about, I don't know, just keep on thinking. A lot of times you're going to see that orange and red because that helps to stimulate appetite. Smell stimulates appetite. Visual, things that are visual also stimulate appetite. So in order to regain control of our health, in order to regain control of our hunger, in order to gain control of ourselves, my number one recommendation for most people with a lot of things is just to fast. Fasting is not just with food. You gotta understand, when we consume things, we mainly think about the foods we consume. We mainly think about nutritional consumption, but we consume things visually. So things that you see, we consume things in an audible way, things that we hear. We consume things on an energy level as well. People around us, their energy, and so that's how you can be like, somebody come around you, be like, yo, get away from me, man. You got me feeling some away. Like I feel sad right now because you're around me. You're bringing me down, or I'm not vibing with your energy. And so we say these things, we may not really know what they mean, but there's truth in it. There's a lot of truth in it. So a lot of times I tell people just fast. Whether it be fasting from people in your life that'll bring you down, that are toxic, that are always gossiping, always bringing in drama. They bring no value whatsoever to you. You should probably fast from them, because whether you know it or not, you're consuming them. You're consuming their energy. Fasting also deals with the things that you are seeing on a daily basis. If you're constantly just strolling up and down your Instagram feed or your Facebook live feed, and you're watching people who look like you, walk like you, talk like you, being battered and beaten and abused, you're going to feel some way. That's going to make you feel battered and abused on a subconscious level, and your body's going to respond subconsciously. That's going to put you in a fight or flight aspect as far as your physiology goes, because you may not be feeling any way subconsciously. You might have even got to the point where it's entertainment to you. Seeing people fight might be entertainment to you. Seeing two sisters fight and pull their hair and call each other name might be entertainment. Seeing a brother shoot another brother on Facebook Live, like all these things may not be entertainment. I'll tell you what, that's a very bad sign, because that means that you are now desensitized to something that once evoked a danger response to you, is now invoking an entertainment response. And this is the dehumanizing process, which you got to be very careful with it, because it's an effective tool when you want to isolate and eliminate. So listen to your body. All right, what's going on? Dion? Long time no see. Hope everything's going well with you. So let me go ahead and get off of this one. Please share this, because I don't know how well this is going to go around on Facebook, but share it. I'm giving y'all the keys. This is for the community. We need to get the information out there. It's very simple. The reason why people are not really, I can't say that's the reason, but too many people are making this thing complicated. And I want to make it very, very, very simple for you. But also, I am going to be in Atlanta Friday, Saturday. So if you have any questions, comment below. Please share this video, and I'm going to holler at y'all later. All right? Peace.